yourself. You've got to find that sense of self and power through with what you want to be.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all we can do. I don't know how much of you heard of what I was saying, but all we can do is give them our advice and give them our guidance, because at the end of the day, their destiny, it's their destiny. They are the ones that are going to walk that road. The reason why I choose to advise you is because I've already walked a certain road in life. And so I'm using my life skills to actually get through to you. And, they can either throw it to the wind or they can take it. And you will find that most often than not, most young people, you do plant the seed and they do remember what you've said and they do take it on board.
Wow, that's great. So I just want to bring you back to the work that you've been doing for the Windrush generation. We were so delighted to hear that you were involved in this fantastic work. Can I just say, the debacle that is the Windrush tragedy has hit all of us, especially our elders in Wales, who, as we'll remind everybody, were invited to come into the UK to help rebuild Britain. And what has happened has shocked the living daylight out of everybody. David Lammy's speech was a masterpiece where he challenged the government about their record and how they're treating people of the Windrush. Can you tell us a bit about this, your work as a community ambassador at the Home Office?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, the reason why I got involved in this is because in the first instance, when I used to hear about the Windrush scheme and the compensation scheme, I had no idea, I put it this way, I felt it was only for people from the Caribbean.
Yes.
Until it was highlighted to me that it's for anybody that came from a Commonwealth country to settle in the UK before 1973 and before the end of 1988. And that was, to me, that was like, oh, wow.
Yes.
Oh, anybody. So, one of I remember going to, I think we went to a roundtable discussion or something. And then, the community activist in me came out and I was saying at the Home Office, I said, so why is it called the Windrush? I said, why is it the Windrush? Couldn't you pick any other name? They said, what's wrong with it being called the Windrush? I said, because not everybody came on the Windrush boat.
Exactly.
Hello. I was like, hello.
That's right.
And I did have a bit of opposition from, people that did come on that Windrush. Oh, majority of us came. And I remember saying, well, you know what? My parents came from Nigeria. And they did, one, they came from Nigeria. They didn't come from Jamaica. And I said, and two, they didn't come on a boat called Windrush. And I know of a lot of other people, who have no idea till today that this scheme is also to benefit them. So that's why I decided to become involved, to be that advocate and that voice for the non-Caribbean people that settled here in the UK. And before 1973 and before the end of 1988, that they too can claim compensation and they too can be helped in legalizing their status. And I think that's more important first, is to legalize your status, get in your passport, get in your papers. And what the Windrush Help Team actually does, if you don't have access to any of those documents or papers, they will actually do the research for you. Wow. And find those documents that you can legalize yourself.
Yes.
I know of, personally, I suppose I'm kind of like lucky or fortunate that, when my dad came here, because he came here in the 50s, but when the call was made for them to get the British citizenship, he did. He got my mum's, he got his own. He got ours. We were born here, but I had two older brothers that were in Nigeria that my dad flew to Nigeria, brought them over, got their papers sorted. So we're kind of lucky that he had the wisdom to do that. But I know of, extended family or extended family friends who are my age group, whose parents didn't do that. And, they have lost their jobs. I know of one who was a bus driver. He lost his job as a bus driver, which then meant they lost their home because they couldn't afford to pay for the mortgage. Wow. He's married with 2 children. The children, they had to stop going to private school because obviously they couldn't afford it. And they went into rented accommodation. Can you imagine him, his wife, and 2 children ended up in one room? And this was all because, and I know it's because his mother, when his mother first came, from Nigeria, she didn't do the necessary. And at first, nobody knew what to do. Nobody knew how to advise him. So when I heard about this scheme that is for everybody, listen, this boy, when I say boy, is about my age group, he's in his 50s now. He then got his legal status within 24 hours. And it's something that he has been fighting for the past maybe 15 or so years. He got it within 24 hours, and this is one of the reasons why I decided to take on this role, because I said to them, there are lots of Nigerians, and I speak about Nigerians first because I belong to the Nigerian community, here in the Northwest. But equally, there'll probably be Ghanaians, and other West Africans who are in, I nearly said the same boat, but as a figure of speech, but who are in that same situation where they don't know where to turn in order to legalize themselves. And they feel the Windrush is only for people from the Caribbean, whereas that is a myth. It is actually for anybody who came to settle here from a Commonwealth country, and you came to settle in the UK before 1973 or before the end of 1988, the Windrush Health Team is actually here to help you to legalize your status here. You have the right to remain here in the UK legally,
That's incredible. That's brilliant. Reggie made a comment. She says, you make a very, very good point, because his dad and many Yemeni were invited to this country to come and help it. And as you know, many faced racism. Racism is rife everywhere. So we've had a question. Who would you say is one of or two of the most inspirational leaders that have influenced you, or that you've looked forward to, or looked up to, rather?
Yeah, I have to first and foremost say my mother. I mean, my mother has passed away now, I think it's almost 23 years. But I say my mother because, she was a leader. She was a leader when she was in Nigeria, and she was a leader in her own right when she was here in Manchester. She started the Nigerian Women's Group based here in Manchester. And I say my mother because, and she also was very active with the Igbo community of Manchester, here in Manchester. And she was one of the very first people to be selling our Nigerian African foods here in Manchester. She used to, bring stuff from Nigeria, because I remember, because as children, we'd be weighing the gari, on the weighing scales and tying it up, weighing the crayfish and all that. So she used to bring it in. She was one of the first also to be selling our Nigerian prints, African cloth printed and all the fabric. And she was so humble with it. And I think that's why I admired my mother, because she was so humble. She had so many firsts that she was doing. Even professionally, she trained as a caterer. She was a silver service chef. And she used to have a photograph of her at university here in Manchester. And it's like a photograph of the whole department, because she used to teach. Because she used to teach in Nigeria, and she was teaching here. And so it's a university photograph of the whole department, of all the teachers and lecturers in the university. And she's the only Black face. And there's about 300 people studying that photograph. And she taught us how to be one, proud of who and what you are, proud of your color, but do it with pride and not aggression.
Absolutely.
And that is what I've learned from my mom.
Wow, it's brilliant. Do it with pride and not aggression. Honestly, people need to hear this, because often a lot of people talk about Black people being aggressive and shouting up and down, but some of it is passion, and some of it can be quite important in conveying what it is we want to say. So in terms of your top tips, Professor Bell, what would you say are your 5 top tips for leadership? It could be 3 or 5. Different leaders give us different top tips.
Okay, I think first and foremost, what I would say to people is, because I'm saying this at the moment because I'm actually delivering a leadership program. And what I say to leaders is, leaders are chosen by the people, not by self.
Yeah.
So, it's not for you to get up and decide, yes, I am your community leader. I am it's not about me, myself, and I.
Yeah.
I think leaders are chosen. And
Yes.
secondly, leaders are chosen for their deeds.
Yeah.
So it's for your deeds. What do you do?
Mm.
And the thing is, do what you're doing with a happy heart and with an open heart. My dad always taught us, don't give to receive.
Yes.
If you give of yourself, the universe will give back to you. So don't give to
Absolutely.
receive, Yeah. I had another one at the tip of my tongue. But yeah, it's don't give to receive. Don't assume, leadership. Don't assume it. And I think another thing that people should know, and I've found this out, that being a leader is a very lonely place.
It is. Yeah.
It's a very, very lonely place. So know where you go for the comfort of self.
Oh,
Know
absolutely.
where you go for the comfort of self.
Yeah.
Because, and I suppose, and I don't know if this is another one, or this is because a leader is, I know there's a Bible quote where it says, a shepherd is never accepted by
Appreciated in their own home. A prophet, yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So know where you go for that comfort.
Absolutely. Those are absolutely brilliant tips, top tips. Leaders are chosen by the people. Leaders are chosen for their deeds. Do what you are. Be who you are.
Yeah, and
Give
do
what
what
you
you
can
do
with an open heart, and do what you do with an open heart, and don't give to receive.
Yes.
And then don't assume leadership. Let people push you forward then as a leader, not you imposing yourself on others. It can be a very lonely place, and do find that place, that space for the comfort of self as a leader. Those are absolutely brilliant. I know that you have been, your face graces the Manchester City. You were appointed in the town hall. How did that whole thing happen? 4 people asked me, how did most people get a statue of themselves when they're dead? But you have been blessed to get your statue and sit by it and take a picture. We can actually see the similarity. It was remarkable to see that photograph of you, and one in the House of Parliament in Westminster Palace. And I just thought, this is our sister. This is fantastic. How did you, what was the statue of you made
all about? Well, the thing is, it goes back to that, not assuming, because people always ask me, why did you have a statue done? How did you get a statue done? And I think, well, I didn't. I didn't. It's a woman who does statues of females, and she likes to do statues of females that wear unusual headgear.
Oh, right.
And every time when I'm in public, I always make sure, one, I dress in, African or Nigerian attire. And I usually always have a gele, the stiff gele.
Yes.
The one that they usually call, oh, how did you get that hat on? And you have to say, it's not a hat, So I was doing a piece of work with her husband, who is a professor. And he asked me, he said, my wife has asked me, can she do a statue of you? And I looked at him and I went, a statue of me? So I said, what kind of statue? I said, why? And he went, oh, I don't know. It's just something that she does, So, I remember I didn't answer at first, and he did ask me again. And I thought, oh, yeah, I never did answer in the first place. So I said, yeah, it's up to her. Yeah, okay, if she wants. Yeah. So, I went to her studio, sat down, she took all the photographs, different angles of my face, started molding, and I could see other ones that she'd done. And I thought, okay, yeah, this is her thing that she likes to do.
Yes.
And it was when she'd finished. Oh my goodness. I mean, it took about 2 years to do, different fittings. Yeah, so it wasn't done, in a quick space of time. And when she told me, oh, she's finished, And she first did it in clay, and I went to look at it. Honestly, I filled up. I wanted to cry because I couldn't believe it. It was so beautiful, and it's so huge. And I thought, oh wow, this is, And then she said to me, oh, what are you going to do with it? And I was like, oh, I don't know, because I was thinking, what do you do?
Yeah.
And then at that time as well, because I have another small project where we smelt down gunmetal and change it into something positive. And we do that project with young people in schools. We base it around physics, trying to make physics interesting to them, and trying to change the negative of gun crime into something positive. So the young people work on what they're going to change the gunmetal into. And we were looking at having a public monument made out of gunmetal. And so that's when Karen Lyons, who's the artist, she then said to me, I remember at the time, she said, oh, so why don't we change the statue into, cover it with gunmetal? And I remember I looked at her and I said, yeah, and I went, oh. So I even said to her, how would you do that? Because, I have no idea. I said, how would you do it? She said, oh, leave it to me. We could do it. And I was like, are you sure?
Wow.
She said, yeah, she'll do it. And I remember she said to me, all you need to do is get me the guns. And I thought, oh, that's easy.
That's easy.
And I got them from the police. And again, when she'd finished it, again, because that took another couple of months, because, you had to get all the guns decommissioned, with the police and the Home Office, and go down to find a what did they call it? A furnace.
Yes, to melt down the metal.
Yeah. And that took nearly another year. And finally, she rang me up one day out of the blue, and she said, Erinma, I've got your statue. So I was like, oh, okay. I said, where is it? She said, it's in my boot. She had it in the boot of her car.
Oh my gosh. That's incredible.
I know. So when I went to see it, and again, I filled up, and I said to her, you know what? I said, people have got to see this. I said, this is your artwork. I said, forget the fact that it's of me. I said, this is your artwork. This is going to put you on the stage, because this is your work. And she was like, no. She doesn't want to go on the stage. And I said, well, when we put it in public, people are going to ask who did it. I said, I didn't do it. And so, and then again, what happened was, very quickly, let me just tell you this. In Manchester, they were doing a competition to find out which, they wanted to put a female statue somewhere in Manchester. And so they were running a competition for people to vote whose statue it would be. Yes. So that's when Karen said, oh, let's put your statue in, Wow. And so when I looked at the list of 100 names, I'm telling you, all 99 of them were dead, apart from me.
Really?
Yeah. So I said to Karen, I do not want my name listed with dead people. I said, no. I said, no. I said, I don't know, spiritually inside, that did something to me. I said, no, I said, those women, they are all good women, powerful women. I said, but they're all dead. So I said to her, I don't want my name in there. So I remember saying to, even the city council said, oh no, we'd like to have your name in there. I said, well, I don't want to have my name in there, and I said to them, I will do my own unveiling, so which I did. I did my own unveiling. Wow. I had TV there, chief of the chief constable even asked, could he come? And I remember saying to him, but remember, it's my stage, not yours. But, we did our own unveiling. And then after we did our own unveiling, because the competition, the person that won, which I knew she would win, was Emmeline Pankhurst, the woman that fought for women to have the vote. So she won. So they do have a statue outside of her. But my statue was the first statue to be unveiled in Manchester Town Hall. And it's the first statue in 150 years, And I usually say to people, and it creates a new paradigm in history. One, it's the first female statue in 150 years. Wow. Two, it's a statue of a Black African woman. Wow. And three, more importantly, I'm still alive. So
yes, that is incredible. I think you honestly deserve a clap. People have been so excited, and the actual crafting of it is stunning. It really is so like you. And to see that headpiece, it was so beautifully done. Beautifully. I've shared it on Leadership on the HotSeat Twitter. If you want to see that image that we're talking about, please check it out on the media section of Leadership on the Hot Seat. And I just want to finalize with some of the questions that have come through. One of them says, Professor Bell, what advice do you have for young women who are aspiring leaders? What are those lessons that you've learned that will make a real difference to women in Wales today?
I think when, with women, we are a very unique species. And I think we need to not only know that, but understand why we are a very unique species. We carry the DNA of life within the female gene. And so whatever we do, we will pass it on within our genes.
Yes.
So we need to know that we are that Mother Earth. That is us. So we need to make sure as women that we not only carry ourselves upright and proud of who we are, but we're able as role models to pass that on to our females that are looking up to us. So it's about, for women, knowing who you are, knowing what you are, knowing the power that we have within. We have a great power within. Absolutely. And that is why the males, and this is, I don't have anything against the male counterparts, believe me, I don't, but I am pro women. So, women have to come first. But this is why for centuries, that male or that patriarchy has tried to keep the woman subdued. And in some societies, we know it's still happening. In some countries, we know it's still happening. Even here, we're hearing too much about human trafficking and, slave trade of women, not only of women, of girls, children, the female child, the male child. That should not be happening. And in some cases, it's not only men that are doing it, women are doing it, So obviously those women do not understand the value of a woman. Yes. And that is what we need to do. Understand the value of a woman, understand your value, so that we're able to pass that on to our younger females. Yes. We don't need to shout and fight, and be angry, even though we can be all those things, but we can be all those things with grace.
Absolutely.
I remember one day being down in the home, it was Parliament actually, when Gordon Brown, he wrote a book called Britain's Everyday Heroes. And chapter 1 in that book, the title of chapter 1 is Erinma Bell.
Wow.
So I know, that's where he wrote about me. However, when I went for the book launch, I remember somebody was asking who I was. And there was a reporter and he went, "Oh, she's just this angry black woman." And I thought, excuse me. So I went up to him and I said, "Excuse me, you wanted to know who I am?" And he went, "No, I didn't." I said, "Well, you described me to somebody as an angry black woman." And I said it calmly like this, and his face went all red. And I said to him, "Oh, but that's okay, because I am a woman. I am a black woman." And I said to him, "And by God, am I angry, but not at you." I said, "I'm angry at the situation, and I think it was Gordon Brown that said, 'Oh my word,' he said, 'you did that with such grace.'"
Wow.
He said, "You almost felt him being slapped, but, and so I think as women, we need to know that we are graceful. We are graceful beings. We are very powerful beings. And don't ever give up that power to anybody. Know who you are and what you are and where you're coming from, because then you'll be able to pass that down your genealogy so that they can continue your legacy." And that's another important word for women. Think about your story. What is your story, your legacy going to be when you've gone? What story are you leaving? What story are you setting? And what story would you like, if you have daughters, what story would you like them to have? Because their story is going to be based on your story.
Absolutely. Wow. Well, Reggie and the Yemenis community are just so excited. They're clapping, they're dancing for you. They said you are such an inspiration to our young women and young people. I could listen to you all day. God bless you for all you have done to support our diverse communities, and keep up this fantastic work. So I do feel that coming to the very end of this interview, that we have one more question that was sent through. And that question is, what do you think is the way that we can together as a society dismantle racism?
Okay. I think first and foremost is to recognize that racism exists. Because I think as a nation, this is what I've been saying of late, we haven't really had the conversation about racism. It's something that we tend not to talk about, even though we know it's there. Those who feel it know it. You know, we know it's there. We know it exists, but we don't really talk about it. So I think, you know, with all the BLM movement, the Black Lives Matter movement, what that has done has given us the opportunity to be able to talk about racism. Absolutely, talk about it. Not that it never existed, because some of us know it existed in the 40s and the 50s and the 60s.
Yeah.
So we know.
Exactly.
However, now is the opportunity to talk about racism, and not in that angry mode. It's about, being able to talk about racism without the aggression. We already know we're angry. We know what we've been through. And another thing I'm saying to people is, we need to talk about racism. And when we're talking about racism, guess what? White people have to be in the room.
Yes.
They must be in the room. Because we have some of our white counterparts who truly and genuinely get it. They understand it. We have some of our white counterparts who really, they just want to try and understand it. You know, they have no idea what racism feels like, what it looks like, what it sounds like. So they're there to learn. And so that's why we need to have them in the room. And when I say in the room, as part of those conversations, so that as a society, we begin to understand what racism did to some people, what it is still doing to some people, and what those of us who receive it, what we term and deem as racism. You know, so that they can understand, you know, that there's certain things that they will say to us and we'll think, no, I didn't like that. But it's about saying, oh, why? Because again, one of my other charities that I'm a trustee of, we stand together. So you can look that up. We stand together and we facilitate what we call difficult dialogue. And racism is one of those difficult dialogues. You know, and we create the safe space for people to be able to come and ask those difficult questions. You know, why do, you know, Professor Bell, why don't you like the term BAME? Which I don't. I hate that word, that term BAME, you know, but I'm able to explain it. I don't like the word BAME, and I don't want to be categorized in that, because Black and Asian minority ethnics, with the word Asian, you know what part of the globe you're talking about. Even to some extent, maybe minority ethnic, but when it comes to Black, who are they? No. Do we come from Black land? There's no such place as Black land.
No.
Why can't you say I'm an African? Use the word African, or use the word Caribbean, you know, or Arab. Use, you know, give us our identity back. Absolutely. You know, even though they never took it away, because the thing is, a lot of us, we perpetuate racism. We do, because when a racist taunt or is said towards us or behavior, there's those of us of color, we ignore it. We don't say anything about it. However, that has been because when you find, you know, if you're in a workplace, for example, and you talk about, you say, I didn't like what so-and-so has said about me, they will usually find some way to turn it back on you, and then it becomes your problem. You know, because that has happened to me, where someone has said to me, and this is a white person, oh, do you have an issue with your color? Well, no, I don't have an issue with my color, but you have an issue with my color.
Absolutely.
I am fine with my color.
Spot on.
So I think the thing with racism is, it's to have the conversation openly. I recently wrote a column in Manchester Evening News, you know, about racism, you know, racism I received on the train. And this was from the train manager. I was traveling on a second class ticket. I decided, me and a colleague, I said to her, because second class was full, I said, let's pay the upgrade and sit in first class. We got to first class. The train manager said to me, oh, you look disorientated. So at first I had no idea what he was talking about. I didn't even think racism, you know, and I was like, I was like, what? And I thought, oh, whatever. So I said, I want to pay, the upgrade. He looked at me, snatched the tickets from me, did the payment transaction, and I put my hand out for the tickets and my credit card back. He threw them on the table. I thought, what? But I still didn't think anything, went and sat down. When it came to serve us, in first class, they come with the little trolley and you get all the nice little drinks. The young lady, she asked me, she said, oh, madam, good evening. Would you like something to drink? And then the young man that was with her said, oh, we've been told not to serve them.
Oh, my goodness.
And I said to him, excuse me? I said, what did you say? He said, and I found my mummy figure coming out, because he said, oh, I wasn't talking to you. I was talking to my colleagues. So then I said to him, I didn't ask you who was you talking to. I asked you, what did you say?
Absolutely.
And immediately he answered me. He said, oh, the train manager told us not to serve you. So I was like, why? Oh, because he said that he felt you shouldn't be sat in first class. I was like, and cut a long story short, called him back, and I wanted an explanation from him, But this was in the 21st century and not long ago.
This is shocking.
And so I think what we need to do, if we're going to get over or around or under or embrace the racism thing, is to have the conversation about racism.
Absolutely. Do you know, you think you would stop getting shocked at what Black, Asian, minority ethnic, African Caribbeans, what we go through as a group of people. But that is shocking. That is totally unacceptable. And that is a mirror of some of the challenges. And at which point did they see your badge that you're the Deputy Lord Lieutenant, and that they are going to probably have to face serious questions? But imagine if that is happening to you in your role. Imagine those who have absolutely no voice, people who feel very disadvantaged, very minoritized, and very unable to speak up for themselves. Imagine the plight of other Africans. But I cannot thank you enough. I just want to say you've been an absolute joy. Thank you to interview, to hear your stories, to hear your strategies. And we will come to Greater Manchester to see your statue, where I know it's in the library, isn't it? It's in the library.
Yes, the Central Library. At the moment, it sits in the Central Library. Yes.
Central Library, Manchester. So guys, if you go to the Central Library, go take that photograph and send it to me. And we're collecting those who visited the statue. We have some Jewish friends who live in Manchester, so I will definitely ask them to go and take photographs. So I just want to say, finally, just before you go, being the Deputy Lord Lieutenant, how does that feel, sister? Because that is such a big honor, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It's absolutely fantastic. And what it actually means is, I deputise for Sir Warren Smith, who is the direct representative of Her Majesty the Queen. And I'm one of his deputies. So I too am a representative for Her Majesty outside of London, which is fantastic. It's absolutely fantastic. And again, like I said, being, a woman of colour and an African representative, it's absolutely fantastic. Being able to represent Her Majesty the Queen, attend certain events on her behalf. There is usually a crest that, we wear. It's fantastic. Yes, I do sometimes get the funny looks, where I go into an event and it could be mainly all white people. And sometimes I feel like saying to them, yes, I'm Black, but I've still got the badge, but it's a wonderful role to play. Absolutely wonderful. Oh, are we stuck again? Hello? 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 Oh.
Broke up a bit.
Hello? Yeah, I can just about hear. Yes.
You did break up a bit. Sorry.
Okay, because I think it might be at your end. I can hear you, but you sound like a robot, but I can hear you. Oh, she gone.
Hello, sorry everybody. Wi-Fi has absolutely defeated us on a number of occasions today, but it was just, we were coming to the very end. And just to say to Professor Erinma Bell, you are absolutely a champion and an icon for women, Black, African Caribbean, and all women in Wales. And it shows for us to look at you and chart your progress and learn from all the things that you have done. Incredible. Just apologies for anybody who lost us for a few minutes. We had some IT challenges, but just to remember Professor Bell's top tips. Remember that as the leader, you are chosen by the people. So remember to be accountable to those people. You're chosen because of who you are and what you do for others. Do what you do with an open heart and don't be giving somebody expecting to receive. Do good because it is the right thing to do. And hopefully we'll come back to you. Don't also assume leadership. And remember, leadership is a very lonely place, and you must find a space of self, comfort of self. Those are the incredible words of Professor Erinma Bell, Deputy Lord Lieutenant, champion of all women in Greater Manchester, leader of the Nigerian society there, and also a champion, a community ambassador for the Windrush movement, representing all the Commonwealth citizens. I don't know where we can start. I mean, you are just incredible. Thank you for being.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And thank you to all your listeners for listening.
Very yes. I wonder if you had any final words before Wi-Fi.
Okay, if you can still hear me, if you can still hear me, I think, you know, we are living through very difficult times and very unusual times. And so it's to remember those people who are probably isolated on their own, and remember them coming this seasonal time. Use your virtual networks, use your WhatsApp to stay in touch with everyone and stay safe.
Thank you so much for those wonderful words. Apologies, everyone. Broadcast today unusually has been plagued by IT difficulties, but a big, big warm thank you to Professor Erinma Bell. And I want to specially thank Iwobi, who also supports and does reading out of comments and questions and everything. And also I want to thank the fantastic Taiwo Okeneye of Vivid Block IT Systems. I know you've been trying to help us with our home Wi-Fi's and trying to get us back on. It's been a challenge for you today, but for the whole year's work, I want to say that Taiwo and Vivid Block have done the live streams free of charge and have supported to bring free education and upliftment of leaders on this platform. I just want to celebrate him as also a leader who is giving of himself and his services to enrich the lives of others. Whether you're Black, whether you're white, or any other color, Asian, you are absolutely warmly welcome to Leadership on the Hot Seat. And we thank you for joining us in 2020. When we come back in 2021, in January, we will have a brand new leader who is going to be absolutely able to take us into the new year with great vision. Have a wonderful time. Merry Christmas and a blessed and a prosperous 2021 to all our guests on the hot seat. We love you all. Goodbye. Thank you.